G'day viewers, it's Michael here again and welcome back to SingleRacer. And so for those of you that came over and subscribed to my channel from the recommendation of SIMRACING604, firstly welcome of course, but if you have a very strong feeling of deja vu, then you're 100% correct. And that is because I want to do exactly the same lap that Mike Smith did in a recent video, with a very slight change in that I'm bringing it back to the absolute default. Mike Smith changed the tyre pressures a little, which arguably could give you a tyre advantage, but you know, very minimal. But this is the default car, which is the mod called the Formula Student at Race Department, and I'll have a link to that in the description. But I want to make it a three-way challenge. And so the first part of that challenge is back to Mike Smith, who described this car as a terrific little go-kart almost like, but it reminded me when I was a kid at living at home, I created this billy cart and I had, believe it or not, ball bearing wheels. And when you're a kid on ball bearing wheels going down this huge hill on a road, you realise that you have no sense of danger when you're a kid, so that was a lot of fun. But it's a great little car, and like I said, I'll have a link to that in the description. And so the second part of that challenge is specifically for the channel Play Everything. Now I personally consider in F1 circles, and like I say, I'm not an F1 driver, I'm just discovering the joys of driving F1 cars. But as far as I'm aware on YouTube, I consider Play Everything arguably equal with Ferrari Man 601 as the best F1 driver on YouTube. But he's a new channel and just starting out, so I have no doubt that he'll absolutely slaughter this time, but it's a great challenge for him as well. But the third and most important reason for doing this challenge, which like I say is like a deja vu because Mike Smith had already done it, was it's a double combination. So the challenge is for everyone else. So that's the third part of the challenge. I'm opening this up to everyone else, and the idea to do the challenge is you have to do the whole of the Nordschleife lap without brakes. If you watch carefully, and I'll make sure I have the little brake and accelerator app on so you can clearly see it, but no brakes ever at all, and that is a lot of fun, I tell you. But the second reason within that is when I did it for my own enjoyment, just to see if I could match Mike Smith's time, is that I suddenly realized that this car is perfect for beginners to learn how to be a better driver. And that is because it perfectly encapsulates the three fundamentals of sim racing. You know, arguably there's a hell of a lot more of course involved, but essentially it covers the three perfect scenarios. But if you race it with the ghost car, and that's the idea, is this car is an amazing kind of Jekyll and Hyde, from the point of view that the Dr. Jekyll bit is that it only has a top speed of 145, in my case, kilometers an hour, so, and 146 going down the hill. And so in that sense it's slow, but it has such superb F1 like ground force that when you get to the corners, most of the corners are flat out. So it teaches you that other part of the racing. So let me explain the three, but what I'll do is I'll do commentary over the hot lap as well and point out specific areas that cover those three. So the three, jokingly you could call it point and shoot, but essentially it's like if you have three apexes that are very far apart, it's like taking a ruler and a pencil and drawing the straightest line possible from one apex to the next. You get to that apex and then you get the ruler, the imaginary ruler and pencil again, and draw it to the next apex again. But when you get to a set of corners, it teaches you the best thing, which is what I would like to call rolling momentum, meaning how to come into the corner with the least resistance sideways. And Sean Cole gave a great tip in the channel SimPet about turning up your skid volume all the way. So I have mine up to 10, and what that does is lets you hear when the tires lock up, of course, because it's nice and loud, but even things like when you get a little lock up or squeal sideways, or even the little chirp 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 chirps of when the brake just locks up. It's perfect to know that. So when you're turning into a corner and you've got sideways momentum, you're trying to take the force off the sideways movement and keeping those skid sounds down to a minimum, and you'll actually hear that in the Hotlap. And the third and final part of that puzzle is, especially for beginners, it's perfect if you set up a ghost car, because the car in a straight line is arguably slow, so 145 kilometers an hour. You can sit like right behind or in front, wherever you are, to the ghost car. And what it does is, if you've already done a lap in the ghost car, you can see deliberately a line into a set of corners. So the third part is how to take a set of corners where, rather than the ruler and straight line of a pencil, you're trying to figure out what position you need to be in to best maximize a set of corners and come out of that fast. So what the ghost car does, of course, is, because it's a fairly slow car in top speed sense, is it lets you try a position on a set of corners, and then you do the Hotlap again, and because the ghost car's already there, you can try a different angle or different position on the track and see if that works better. And believe me, it teaches you to be such a good driver very quickly when you have a slow car racing it against the ghost car itself. And so finally, to sum up this intro, for those beginners that are watching this video and feel excited about having a go, I'll have a link to the car in the description. But remember, if you could stick to the 2 requirements, please. And that is to try and do it without hitting brakes at all. And the second thing is to leave the car in its default setting, just to make it fair for everyone who wants to give it a try. And so finally, for those who are new to either sim racing or the game Assetto Corsa, there's no hard and fast rule about the braking, but it's more about that if you are excited to try the challenge, then the idea of the challenge then is to do the whole of the Nordschleife track without braking at all. And I'll wish you good luck, and this is Michael signing out for SingleRacer. I'll catch you next time, so see ya, and let's go racing. Okay folks, so here I am on the Nordschleife Tourist version, and the reason for that is this car uses a charging system which tends to run out before you can finish a proper Nordschleife Hotlap. So we're using this tourist version because it just has enough charge in it to cross the start finish line. And what I'll try and do is describe, because this car is called the Formula Student, why it's a perfect student car for a beginner. Now, this commentary will be rough and ready a little bit because I'm trying to focus on driving as well, and also being online, there's quite often a lot of pausing that happens just through Assetto Corsa or whatever the reason is, but I'll try and put up with it and we'll see how we go. So I talked about the first thing here was the thing where you imagine a pencil and a ruler to draw straight lines from one apex to the other. And as we come out of this first section of corners, I love this bit, just turning into that in VR is incredible. But as we get through this first section, this is the perfect scenario when we hit the straight of where you learn to try and imagine, assuming you know the track of course, because in order to do this you have to know what's coming up. but this is the perfect case of drawing an imaginary pencil and ruler from one apex to the other, because this car has such a slow top speed. So as we can see there, we're nearing the top speed now. So here's the example. I would just take a line, hit the apex and draw an imaginary line. It's not always exactly straight, but essentially a line from one apex here like this to the next one. There's that bloody pause. Gee, that's so frustrating. And then we come up to the section now where we try and limit this, what I call rolling momentum. Now I've turned the skid volume up to 10, I do that automatically anyway, but listen how I try and get through this corner. Now no braking, that's it, try and not get any squeal whatsoever, and that indicates to me that I've done a pretty good job of that section. Now again, point and shoot, just straight line between each apex, so there we go. Imaginary straight line from here and then imaginary straight line to the next apex. But here is a set of corners where the ghost car really helps you, because you have to try not to hit too many gutters. This thing doesn't like curbs or gutters, and just try, there we go, a little bit of a skid, but just there, try and keep that to a minimum. And what it helps you with is setting up the ghost car where you can experiment, where you think, oh, I did a poor line out of that corner, what if I try putting the car over on this angle or this angle, and just seeing how you go. Now again, rolling momentum, just trying to ease off and keep that skidding to a minimum, especially down here at the bottom. There's another pause. So frustrating. But I think I hear from a lot of creators that just recording in a set of course always seems to pause, especially when you're online, so there's not much you can do about it. Now here, this is a really hard one, is because I want to brake early. It's that slow in fast out there, just try and be smooth through that. I'm happy with that, that was pretty good. That's probably the corner you would gain the most time with. And there's about 5 corners where you don't use any brakes, and that was I think the third one, where you're just trying to ease. Oh, that was bad. I think that was more my ping than anything. That when I see that little hourglass sand thing, that's more a pinging problem, because I'm from Australia. My ping to the US is usually 300 to 400. So although I'm not racing on a server, that usually indicates to me that I have a pinging problem, or it's just a more maybe like a resetting of the cache or something. So here we go again. Here's the perfect scenario where it's line to line, although what you do want to do is kind of angle the line more like a moon kind of shape, or half circle, as I've talked about previously. Again, see, you draw a straight line to that center. So here's a great example. A straight line to this point here, and then readjust to be the next straight line to the apex there. And this is the rolling momentum one. So you want to try and keep all your momentum. Again, no brakes needed. This car is going too slow. This is not a difficult bit. In GT3 cars, this is one of the hardest corners, but this car is so slow that that's a very easy corner to take. But again now, all these bits are rolling momentum, and we'll come up to the carousel, which again is one of the bits where you don't want to brake, but you do have to ease off. Now, this corner is so hard you can't stop the squealing. There's not much you can do because you have to really force the car around. But ease off, that's it. Try and hold it, just keep the momentum going, that's it. Okay, I was reasonably happy with that. So let's see how we go now. I'll probably try and keep the talking down here because we've got more corners up, but essentially we just want to keep it smooth and gentle and try not to force the car around. Just ease it off here, that's it. No skidding, good, I'm happy with that. And just kind of caress it through the corners. Now there probably won't be a brake issue. Now you can run over these two curbs. These two curbs are the only curbs that probably won't upset the car, but big high ones like these curbs you want to avoid. Now again, we're not really going too fast to be a worry through this corner. Normally in GT3 cars this is the harder part of the course. And even here you don't have to ease off at all, just because of the terrific downforce that it's, even though it's a kind of almost like a go-kart, it's still a Formula car and gives you plenty of downforce. So this is reasonably easy if you've got some experience already. Now again, try and just ease it through. Don't stop. You're trying to stop the sideways skidding. And what the Ghost car and this type of car helps beginners so much with is how to position into a corner and out of a corner, and you can physically see, especially if you've done a poor couple of corners and the Ghost car is in front of you, to see how you're catching the car or a different way to take the corner. I still feel like I haven't figured out the correct way to take that corner as an example. And you can use the Ghost car as an experimentation as we get through this to try and finish the lap. Now hopefully I'm up on SIMRACING604's time. Looks like it's gonna be very close here. Be gentle coming out of this. Come on, just be smooth. I just wanna try and beat his time. Gonna be slow. Oh yes, I did it, but geez, not by much. Now, when I was a young person, I visited my nana who used to live in the country, and we had a big hill where I used to just knock it into neutral and just try and roll all the way down the hill to her place, to her driveway. And so this is fun to try and just let it roll and see if you can go to that 300 marker there. I'm just it just reminds me of a personal memory that I had as a young adult, and I would just roll and go, come on, go further to her driveway, and just try and make it all the way to her driveway in the country. And it was a lot of fun. This just, come on, a little bit more. Can you make it to that next speed sign there? Come on, keep going. And there we go. We didn't quite make it. So there's a little extra bit of bonus at the end. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a hell of a lot of fun. You shouldn't not dismiss. I know there are people like Ferrari Man 601 that just enjoy driving the fast cars, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for beginners who are just, say like even intermediate drivers who are still struggling with sliding the car, losing the car, slow cars are a great way to teach you this, what I am calling the race craft. They just help, and now I'm reached that point, and that's why I want to help with beginners, but I am now looking for the next step. And one of those things that I've been doing is I've been watching Alex over at the Extra Mile. He's got a series on drifting, and I'm just trying to learn and get to that next stage myself. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll sign out for now, and give it a go if you like, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, this is Michael signing out, and I'll catch you later. See ya.